Oh, all right. I guess I'm live now, kind of reclined back. Hello, everyone. As I said in the intro, I am live while donating platelets. That's why I'm kind of kicked back, laying backwards here. Uh, let's see. I'm going to try to go live twice at once here. So going to do the same thing over on Facebook, but let's see how this works. I'm going to be using up a lot of bandwidth here at the blood bank, but there's not very many of us here. Uh, so uh, Maybe it won't let me do it because I'm using the camera here in YouTube. I might not be able to use it in uh, Facebook at the same time as I try to figure out how to do this. I've never done this, never tried to do both of them at the once. So let's just exit out of the Facebook attempt. We'll do a live on Facebook some other time. But so Other people are going to be walking around, some more folks coming in to give blood. So why don't we first start talking about that, right? That giving blood, giving platelets is something that I have done quite often, quite frequently. They count our credits different if you give platelets. That if you give platelets, you get a little different credit. They count it a little differently, and so I get a little extra credit. I go over 83 gallons today. My goal originally was to get to 100 gallons by my 60th birthday. Not going to make that. But I don't mind giving blood, giving platelets. I'm giving platelets and red blood cells today. Sometimes I just give platelets. I've been directed or asked not to give plasma. As you can see, this is a Grinch T-shirt. Don't be a Grinch, give blood. So I'd encourage you, don't be a Grinch, give blood, right? And it only takes, if you do whole blood, it only takes about 30 minutes from the time you walk into the blood center or the blood mobile. If you give platelets or plasma, it does take a little bit of extra time. I've got a needle jammed in this arm. It's right over there, but you can't see it. There's some gauze over it. But they take the blood out. It comes out through some tubes, goes into this machine right over here called a Trima machine. And what the Trima does is it spins the blood with the centrifuge, takes out the product they want. Like I said, today for me, it's platelets or RBCs. Sometimes it's plasma for other people. And then the blood, my own blood, is given back to me with a little bit of saline and a very small amount of anticoagulant. My blood never goes anywhere but into this tubing and then comes back to me. So it's a very safe procedure. And then they get the blood products that they need. As platelets, those are mainly given to cancer patients. I used to have my platelets able to be donated to children at our local children's hospital. There's something that happens to your body if you get certain kind of like colds or basically coronaviruses, right? Because that's what the cold is. Uh, but it happened actually before I had corona, that I became what's called a CMV converter. It's not a huge issue either way, to be or not to be. But what happened in my case is my platelets can now only go to adult cancer patients. So, no big deal. They still need them, and our bodies make platelets quite fast. All of our platelets die off, I want to say, every 2 to 3 weeks. So by donating platelets, especially a double like today, I'm kind of big, kind of chunky right now, as I say, a little heavier than normal. And so my body produces platelets quite rapidly. They check that. They don't let us give too often. There are some people that later don't, like if my platelet count didn't bounce back, I've talked to some donors here that they end up becoming whole blood donors uh, after a certain amount of time because their body no longer is catching up and making the replacement platelets that they need. So that's what's going on there. Uh, so far, nobody's joined us live, but I'm just doing stream of consciousness anyway. And then it also documents some of my other stuff that's going on. So let's talk about that. I've done a first update to the growing the channel and the Facebook profile. So I'll talk about that a little bit next, I guess, if nobody joins in. Um, I'm still working on that. Got back up to 260 subscribers, and then I've added 4 more since then. So I'm at 264 subscribers on this YouTube channel. If you are listening and you hear this, I would love to get more subscribers. Obviously, trying to get to that 1,000 milestone. Got a long way to go, and only adding a few a week. It's going to take quite a while to get there. Excuse me. And boy, when you're coughing and the laptop is in your lap, truly a laptop today. Um, I've got to grow a little faster. So I'm going to do some stuff to try to get the website or built, get the YouTube channel linked to that. Definitely focusing on music content and financial content now. Not gonna. There's some repairs I need to do to my motorcycle. There's some new to me motorcycles I'm looking at, but I'm not going to do much motorcycle content for the time being. I have a Facebook page that's my motorcycling, the chapter from the Christian Motorcyclist Association. So we'll definitely have some content on there that's motorcycling, but probably not here on YouTube. So, and then I still do the financial education videos. I think I'm going to do a series of those, especially as I start working on a book that's going to be, because my branding is Diffusing Financial Danger. The title of the first book is probably going to be Diffusing Financial Dangers. And I'm going to talk about the top 5 financial dangers that most of us, especially middle-income Americans, face and deal with. So, hey, Grinch, how you doing there, buddy? Check in with them every now and then. The YouTube page is getting there. The view time is slowly growing. The likes and comments and things like that. It's really funny from time to time. The too much can do you in video short gets a good many views, and then sometimes it drops back down, jumps back up. The 2 Jerry Reed, the short and the video, they continue to perform well. So that's what's going on there. Sorry, I'm finishing up a Tums. They give us Tums while we're doing this. It helps with our stomachs. The antacid in that and the calcium in that counteracts some of the chemicals that are in the anticoagulant. So if you've never done this, first time you do apheresis, sometimes people can get like a tingling sensation from the anticoagulant, and the calcium in the Tums defeats that. And I have gotten that tingling before. It's nothing bad. It's not like it's going to really hurt you, but it's just something smart to do. So let's see, I am just about to halfway to my donation. I'm probably not going to keep this going. Hey, thank you for the person who liked, picked in there, and also joining in to me today. I appreciate it. So now, they were in and now they're back out. So maybe they'll be back and subscribe. Hopefully they do, because it would be nice to have somebody in here, maybe to do a chat, see if there's something they want to chat about, talk about. But we got 1 like over there. So my first live and my first like to a live. So, probably do these from time to time, maybe when I'm giving blood. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, again, going back to giving blood. I give to the San Diego Blood Bank. I got my start giving to the American Red Cross. We do have both here in San Diego. Plus, we have the Navy Medical Center and the VA hospitals. Both can take blood. So if you're in San Diego, just give to any of them, right? I mean, everybody has their favorites. I am partial to the San Diego Blood Bank. They've always taken good care of me. But I've also given to the Red Cross as I've been all around the country. Started out giving to the Red Cross in Auburn when I was a student there. But the big thing is just give blood. We still do not have a replacement to human blood that is truly capable of doing what blood can do. Blood and blood components are just an amazing part of what keeps us alive, right? between carrying oxygen in the red blood cells, white blood cells fighting infection, platelet allowing us to clot. A lot of different things going on with what blood can do for us, and especially during the holidays. We all get busy. Sometimes people get sick from traveling or just exposure, right? And they can't give. Uh, so, if you can come in and give, and then one fact and figure I heard years ago, I don't know if it's still true. I bet it is close to being true if it's not. But if everybody who gave blood or did something like I'm doing with apheresis, did it one more time a year, we would never have a blood shortage. So, being able to give blood uh, is something that if we're healthy enough to do, it would be great for us to continue to do that, right? I know I didn't make it in November. I try to give at least once a month now because of well, basically what happened is I've been getting my medical care, right? Traditional medical care. And then I go to see a chiropractor, and then I go to an acupuncturist. My Poway, my chiropractor is here in Poway, Chris Honigstag, and he's pretty good. We work pretty well together. And then I go to a good friend of mine named Michaela Cameron. Dr. Cameron is my acupuncturist. Uh, she would rather I not give blood at all. We had to reach a compromise because donating blood is very important to me for personal and emotional and spiritual reasons. So, what she's the one who recommended I don't give plasma and that I don't give as frequently as I used to. I used to give every 2 to 3 weeks, like I'd give, every 3 weeks for a little while, every 2 weeks for a little while, and then bounce back and forth. And that's how I got my count so high. But with some of the other things that are going on, and then as I get older, she said, you probably, if you're going to give blood, don't give plasma, don't give as frequently, and you know, and I don't give whole blood anyway. So my blood volume actually doesn't go down between the saline and what little they take. I mean, I've got little tiny bags up here. If I was using my camera and not the laptop camera, I could move it and show you. They're just regular little collection bags, right? Uh, you lose more blood volume when you give whole blood because you give a whole pint. I probably won't even give a whole pint of fluid today, maybe close. But yeah, so this is something great to do. You could even go with a friend, uh, especially if they've never given and you've given before, but it's been a little while. Team up, go together, right? It's always good to have a buddy doing stuff. Makes it easier. And don't tell anybody, but if they have problems and they pass out, you can tease them about it. I bring that up because years ago we used to have a drive here in San Diego called the San Diego Chargers Blood Drive. It was quite historic. We had a kicker for the Chargers years ago get sick, and he needed a whole lot of blood, basically saved his life. So he started a blood drive with the San Diego Chargers and the San Diego Blood Bank. And so one year I'm helping out at the blood drive as a volunteer, just because at that drive they're mainly just doing whole blood, double red blood cells, just running people through. Well, the Navy's SEER school, which is our uh, survival, escape, evasion, resistance, and escape training, SEER. The guys that teach there are pretty tough, right? They have to go. They've had to been through it before. They have to go through it a second time to become an instructor, and then they're running this course. Well, they all came in to give blood together, and one of their guys, big, stocky, muscular guy, he gets up from giving blood and crumples like a sheet of paper, just passes right out. And I'm sitting there and I start laughing. And the other volunteers in the canteen are like, you shouldn't be laughing at that guy volunteering. And then they realize he's wearing a blue and gold Navy sweatshirt. I'm wearing a blue and gold Navy sweatshirt. And they're like, y'all are all going to tease him, aren't y'all? I'm like, of course we are, right? He was fine. He didn't bump his head. And, he laid there with his feet up for a few minutes and drank some juice and had a cookie or two. And he was fine, right? We jokingly say, do it for the donut. But I'm sure his cubicle and his nicknames and everything were brutal for a few days, right? But that's kind of what the Navy does, and we all do it in good-natured fun. Kind of, if you're not getting teased a little bit, it probably means the guys don't like you a whole lot. And but it's yeah, if you can give blood, if you don't have something like that, if that happened to him another time, I would probably say, hey, dude, giving blood might not be for you, but and I do have some friends that are that way. Either the needle sketches them out, they do know they get lightheaded, they do know there's a medical reason that they'd be deferred, so they don't give blood. But there are a lot of other good things to do. A friend of mine is putting together 1,000 food and hygiene kits for homeless people for Christmas Eve, right? So, that's another awesome thing. And I'm going to try to help him out. It's a good reminder. He's trying to get oranges. He wants to put 2 or 3 oranges in each one of those bags, right? Because just imagine, I mean, if you're homeless, you're disadvantaged, there's probably not a whole lot of places you can go that'll have fresh fruit and vegetables. And even then, do you have the money and the resources to get it? So, kind of a treat to have an orange. I would think that, if I hadn't had anything like that and I've been living off handouts and food I could scrounge or, you know, fast food or something like that I could get and not have to cook, having an orange given to me is probably a pretty big deal. I kind of like that he's doing that. So, that's something that you can do as well. And there's all kinds of things like that, right? Your cause might be Habitat for Humanity, a great organization. Your cause might be fostering pets or going to a pet shelter. Maybe you can't foster a pet, but you can go to the shelter and you can play with these pets. And that'd be dangerous, right? Most of us would do that, and we'd be taking another one home every time we volunteered. So I can't do that. I'm too soft-hearted when it comes to dogs. More soft-hearted toward cats than I used to be, and I probably shouldn't do that as my volunteer activity. But that's what I'm saying is find something like that. Maybe take some time these next few weeks before the start of the year to do something, give blood, help out at a shelter, help out with homeless, help out, go visit a senior center like a vet home or a senior home or an assisted living home, and just give back just a little bit, right? If we all did that, uh, I think this is just my opinion, and it kind of jives with being a small government person. If we all did that to the causes that are important to us, right? Like my friend helping the homeless, or my friends that help out at pet shelters, me at the blood bank, then we'd solve a lot of the problems, right? If we all just did what is on our heart and got out of the way of the ones that were doing things that were important to them, uh, it'd probably be a better place, and we probably wouldn't need the government to do as much. Uh, let's see. Hey, why don't we talk about the going from something fairly serious and altruistic? Let's talk college football playoffs. Why not? Right? Everybody else is today. It is December 8th. So this morning they announced the college football playoff bracket. First year of a 12-team playoff. That's interesting, right? So a 12-team playoff this year. We had years and years ago. We just had the bowl games, right? And famously, you'd have crazy things happen, like in 1980, the 1982-83 season, or 83-84 season, before I went to Auburn University in '84, New Year's Day 1984. Auburn won the Sugar Bowl 9-6. Had not lost a game. They had a tie that year. That was back when college teams could have ties. They were 11-0-1 and did not win the national championship because in their bowl game they won 9-6 on field goals. Al Greco was the kicker at Auburn. Then I later met him. We played softball together when he was back at Auburn. He was on our intramural team. People would recognize him. You're like, no, you just see me on campus, and here he is, the Auburn kicker in our Sugar Bowl win and a pro kicker in those days. So I guess we had a pro athlete on my intramural team. But but that's how they used to pick. It was a poll, and you might have a great record, as good a record as anybody else in football, but if you didn't win the poll, you weren't the national champion. So we saw the problem with that. They went to a championship game, but then there was, it's only 2 teams making it. What if there was a very, very good number 3 team? So still a problem. We went to the 4-team BCS for a number of years, but that wasn't great either. So they have decided now this is the first year for the 12-team playoff. And you could tell a couple things were going to be a big deal, right? Even when they announced it a couple years ago. Well, four teams to have a 12-team bracket, four teams are going to get buys. And with all the major conferences in those days, now the conferences have changed a little bit, right? And all the schools that aren't in those major conferences, we'd have years where a team from what is now called the group of five conferences go undefeated. Well, yeah, maybe they're not a Big Ten team or an SEC team or the old Pac-10 teams, Big 12 teams, but they're still undefeated. They've won every game they've played, right? How good are they? Are they at the same talent level as an Ohio State or Oregon or Bama or, this year Texas or Georgia? So, what would you do with them? Well, what they have done now is the highest ranked group of five conference champion and at least three of the big the major conference champions will get a bye, right? At least 14. The four teams will get a bye. Well, this year, Boise State gets a bye. And then you've got teams like Texas, whose only losses are to Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, not getting buys. And, Ohio State and Penn State have played very tough schedules, won almost every game. They've only lost to one another and Oregon. Uh, Texas, first year in the SEC, beats every SEC team but Georgia. And both of the games with Georgia were fairly competitive games. Definitely the one last night, right? Went to overtime. So it's never going to be perfect, right? I mean, a lot of us. I mean, hey, I really want Navy to beat Army next Saturday, right? But how good is Army? The only team they lost to is Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is in the playoffs. So, but it's going to be interesting. There's some pretty interesting first round matchups. I think the Clemson Texas game looks pretty appealing to me. Uh, Tennessee Ohio State. I hate to say it as an SEC guy, but I've got a buddy who's a huge Ohio State fan. He and I already been texting today, and I mean it's going to be at Ohio State, so it's a home game. It's Ohio in the winter. Tennessee, Knoxville is not a moderate place. It gets cold in Knoxville, Tennessee. But can Tennessee travel to Ohio State between the cold and the crowd and the horseshoe? I really think Ohio State's going to run away with that one. Maybe not. You never know, right? You got to play the game. Ohio State, on paper, would beat Michigan 10 out of 10 times and beat them pretty bad. But when they got on the field, it wasn't on paper, right? And Michigan, I think that's kind of like the last few years under Coach Saban with Bama, that Bama and Nick Saban were in Kirby Smart and the Georgia team's head. And until the end there, they had a really hard time playing against Bama. The same thing, right? I think the coach up there at Ohio State, the players, they can't somehow get in their head that this is the year we start beating Michigan. I think when that happens, unless Michigan turns around pretty fast, Ohio State could reel off 2 or 3 wins as soon as they flip that switch. Kind of like Navy did against Army for about 10 years, right? For a long time, Army would win 2 out of 3. And then for like 10 or 12 years, Navy won every year. Now it's kind of flipping back the other way. Army's been winning most of the games recently. Whoops, that didn't work. But we'll see how that goes. And so, yeah, the CFP, it's going to be interesting. The games start pretty soon. Let's see. Arizona State got a bye because they won the Pac-12, but they're going to probably have a pretty challenging game. And then I think Notre Dame's first round game, I would think they're going to be favored. And then they have to play Georgia. I think that's going to be a really good ball game. If Georgia's defense is really good, I haven't checked yet today on whether Beck is going to be able to play. Some people say that Georgia might actually do better with his backup in because he's a more mobile quarterback. Now Beck, when he's on, he's an amazing quarterback. If he's not on, he's not quite as mobile as some of these other quarterbacks, so he can't create. I mean, he can create a little bit with his legs, but not like some of these other quarterbacks, and definitely not like his backup. And the same thing with Ewers and Arch Manning, right? Some people are saying with everything on the line, you got to win to stay in. You're losing and you're out in a playoff setup. A lot of people in Texas are calling for Arch Manning to start and just let Ewers go. If he goes to the pros, if he goes into the portal, that'll be interesting to see. So that's the college. That's my take on the college football playoffs. Uh, Auburn's done. We didn't even qualify for a bowl game this year. But yeah, Auburn was just not good this year. So impressed they beat Texas A&M. Impressed they won any SEC games actually. So got a few more minutes here. It says I have 18 more minutes to go. I've already been just rambling for 26 minutes. So I'll probably wrap up this live. Hope everybody has a great rest of their day. And we will chat with you all later.